Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Saturday. So it's another episode of MillenniYell with Billy and Mel. What is going on, guys? So yes, it is Saturday. We're coming to you live like we always do, but just a different day. So but anyways, guys, we're hopefully that you are enjoying your weekend so far. Today we're going to just be talking about, how are you doing, right? Like, how is the month of January going for you guys? Because I feel like this is the time of, year, like that's that week or two before the end of the month where people's habits start to falter a little bit, right? So we're going to be talking to you guys about all of that, some of the things that we're doing. We'll talk about some of our January, how that's going, things that are changing, and more importantly, our habits and how we're sticking to them. But before we get into all of that, Mel, what is going on? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I am trying to stick to these habits. I went to Florida, a little like after birthday celebration. I told you I was going away and had a great time with my best friends that moved down there and their kiddos. Very relaxing. We had fun. We did a lot of different stuff, but we just got to chill, and it was just really neat to have some time to get to see the beach and have the warm weather and enjoy the sunshine. I've been feeling that like whole winter depression or that cold thing this year more than ever. So I think getting down there was really great after the new year. But yeah, it's funny, the last couple of trips that I've taken, and especially this one, we went to the gym in the morning. They're big workout fans, and we were eating healthy and had only like a glass of wine at night, just one. I had to celebrate for my birthday. But we were eating, fresh salmon salad. And I felt really great that I wasn't on vacation, like eating like, a fat kid and just being like, junk. So it was really great, because then I was like setting myself up to come back because my gym reopened. So I literally can get back into my routine, and I'm super excited. Although that 5:30 alarm has been very difficult. I want to talk about that habit, but yeah. What about you?
It's been really, it's been a good month. I mean, it's been a good month so far. A lot of change and just sticking to habits. Obviously, if you're following me, on social media, me and my wife have been doing 75 hard, and we haven't missed a day about anything. So walking outside, the whole 9 yards, drinking my water. I have a big jug of water. So trying to stay on track with that. But just some good things that have just been happening, but nothing overly crazy. Just been creating good habits and sticking to them. So it's been awesome month so far. So, but
yeah, I thought this was really good because we're both reading books. I didn't know until today that you told me, and I want to hear more about it. But we're both reading some books and listening to podcasts about habits and how we can do it. And I've actually, routine for me being like super, high energy, just creative and, just kind of all over the place, like has really been something that has changed my life and creating a routine. And I think that I've learned some really good ways, and it's not easy to really stick to them, but I think there's things that work and don't work, and I just wanted to share some of those things that have really helped me, and even just that I'm still learning because of one of the books and podcasts. They're actually pushing out Mel Robbins about habits, like, so every week we're kind of, there's new tidbits. So
yeah, I mean, it's a constant learning battle, and what I found, especially specifically with habits, is that you always have to be practicing, like how to, like, there's a specific way you should do it and stuff like that, but there's always little nuances that you can learn to like optimize your day. That's like one of the things that, like if you read the book, what's it called?
Atomic Habits. Yeah.
Right. And habit stacking. Right. And like, so like for me, like I know like one of the things that I really wanted to focus on, I know this sounds, but it's a good healthy habit, like brushing your teeth on a regular basis.
Right.
So like I would always like, in the morning you're just rushing to get ready because your day, you want to start your day and stuff like that. And sometimes I'd forget, right, to brush my teeth. And so like one of the things that I would do is like as soon as I get out of the shower, towel off, right, it's brush your teeth, right, right there, and then you can move on to the next thing, right, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And so I think for me, like stacking your habits and having some type of routine has been really the game changer this year for me, for my habits.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, you've talked a lot about when we're doing stuff with work and our purpose, like careers and just relationships and like our why. I think for me, I had to talk about the why with my habits and say like, why am I doing this? And I had to make it, I don't use the word personal, but I think I had to make it like purposeful and say, okay, this is why, because I want this so badly, or I want to get to this next level, or I want to save this money, or I want to, saying no to things, setting boundaries, like creating these habits, is like why, knowing why we're even doing them in the first place. If it's like the 75 hard, is it because, our health? Is it again, discipline, creating discipline? And it's a way of, training our brain. So I kind of had to look at the why behind things and like more of just knowing what I want and this is how I'm going to get there, like developing those habits. Because one of the things that I've really believe is the habits become who we are. So that's why I want to do them more. Also because that's who I want to become. It's like, who do we want to become, and who, this potential in our greatness. So for me, it's like doing these things is going to change who I am in a better way. Does that make sense? I know it sounds weird.
No, it makes 100% sense. It was so funny that you were just talking about, they call it in a lot of different areas, but specifically, again, going back to Atomic Habits, they call it emotional anchoring.
Yeah.
And that's what you did, and that's what I did this year. And it was so funny because I was talking to a friend of mine, talking about their habits and stuff like that, and they kind of broke one of their habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Why did I do that? Like, why? Like, I wanted this so bad." And it was like, did you really, like, because like if when you say like I want to lose weight, like that's such a non-committal like statement to make, right? It's just like, oh, everybody wants to lose weight. Like everybody wants to be in better shape. Everybody wants to look good on the beach. But like, why do you want that? Like, why do you want to lose weight? Well, I want to lose weight because I want to look good on the beach. Well, why is that important to you? Well, because it's going to make me feel confident in this and this and this. And so many of us, like, what we do is we just go with that surface level answer.
Mm-hmm.
And then when tough times come, or if you, like for you, for instance, you had we were talking about a story, right? And it's just like if somebody comes out of the woodwork and just like, hey, like, let's go over here, and you're like, yeah, whatever, I'll go, right? But when you're emotionally tied to that outcome or that goal or that commitment, like you're like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm just not going to do it, right? Like, it's an easier no to say.
Right. Yeah, I think exactly what it is. I mean, and that's like that story that we were talking about was about peer pressure and giving in to things that you're not sticking to your habits, right? And you're setting these boundaries with other people, but honestly, I think it's setting the boundaries with ourselves, because it's literally promises that we're making to ourselves. And what's funny was, we ended up doing this today. I had some things I wanted to get done this morning, and we had some meetings yesterday, but I actually promised myself that I would take my Christmas tree down last night, which I did. If you follow me on Instagram and Facebook, you saw that I did. And I had all my Christmas stuff ready to pack up. Now it needs to still go down in the basement. Okay. But I promised myself before we got on this podcast that I would vacuum because my Dyson vacuum cordless thing, it died right yesterday. So last night I was like, okay, I'm going to charge it overnight. As soon as I get up, and of course I went and ran my errands, I didn't vacuum because I have to put my table back to where my tree was and I'm trying to clean up. And I said, okay, nope, I'm not going to get on the podcast. And I literally vacuumed right before we got on here because I made these promises to myself. And I think that's also that emotional tie to it is, yes, we can fall short or we can mess up. And then, if it's a morning routine of getting up at a certain time, which is my thing right now, getting back to that 5:30, wake up, it's okay. Like we don't have to beat ourselves up. We could do it tomorrow. Right. But you have to stick through all the other things. And one of the things I've been saying to myself is like cheering myself on.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Being my own cheerleader. And a couple people that the high five habit, that's what, I want to talk about too, is, giving yourself a high five in the morning. I talked about it on the podcast, I think before, but I started doing it and it's just really funny. Like first thing, getting into that positive, like high five, we got this, and I think that it is emotional. I think that if we can like be our own cheerleader and make these promises ourselves and feel good about keeping those promises, it's like little by little, we're changing who we are. Right.
No, 100%. It's all about it, because at the end of the day, like, even if you have like a partner or a spouse and stuff like that, like at the end of the day, like that person can't necessarily make you do it. Right. They, that might work on one day of the week where you're just down and you just need that little extra push. Right. But to constantly go through the grind and have someone just dragging you, that's not sustainable. Right. And so what you were saying, like, whether it be, words of affirmation, like, write your affirmations down, or just little reminders of victories here and there, like is such a big thing. Like, a lot of us get overcomplicate goals, and we look at the big goal and we're just like, we're so focused on this big goal, but we're not really focused on what are the daily steps that we're taking towards those goals. And like, I have a really cool app. It's called, where is it? It's called Strides. And so it's a really cool app. And basically you can go through and you could set all your goals and stuff like that today. Like I have business reading. So when I do my business reading, I get to swipe and it checks.
Is this a free app?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
I'm just curious because not that I'm cheap, but I have so many other apps that I want to buy. And I'm like, and then I get into these subscription things if I don't use them and I forget.
This has a paid version, right? I paid for it. I think it's like $29 for the entire year. Like you just one-time fee. And it gives you a lot more like goals that you can track and stuff like that, and different types of goals. But like, it's so rewarding. Like when you swipe over and it's like, oh, complete, right? And like each day, like you complete all your goals, like it like sends you a big celebration, right? So it's like, it's like you get to reward yourself for.
I just remembered. Remember when we were talking about the dog on the last podcast, about the training, about the dog training, and I said that came up on the podcast? That's what it was. That's what I forgot. It was the reward. It was a reward because that's what I'm saying. I've been rewarding myself. I'm going back to like the tree. I know that the podcast wasn't a reward. Like we have to, we're going to do this yet anyway, but I have been actually rewarding myself and I'm saying, no, you can't do this until this. And I've actually been doing that. And that's actually been very helpful. And that app might help me because do you find yourself even just going into the app every day is creating a habit of keeping yourself accountable?
Yes.
So look at even just the fact that you're using the app. I would love that because I saw, we did the vision board party and I followed a couple of people that do vision board books and they have all these journals and I am very visual, but to be very honest, I am not going to open up a book. I'm not going to write my stuff. I write my goals down. I already have my goal book and I have my gratitude journal, which is fantastic. I highly recommend, writing in every day, but there's something that I've seen that was like that with your habits, a habit book. And I'm just not, I don't want another book. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just, so the app, that would be great. Maybe we could share that. If you could take a picture of it or something, maybe we could share it, because I would love to do that. And that would almost, I don't want to like beat myself up if I don't do things, but I do want to be able to look at it and say, I've done this. And one of the things that I started doing was I created alarms on my phone. And then I don't want to say her name really loud. It begins with an A. I actually started routines where you can say things and she'll say something back to you.
Hmm.
So I started doing like, and whether it's the affirmation, I say, good morning. Good morning, Mel. Today's going to be a great day. You're going to get so much done.
I
Okay.
love
Like,
that. I love that.
sounds funny, but again, I'm alone. She's my only friend here, right? So you can ask it to say anything. You could set it up to say anything. So I set alarms as well, like meditate or breathe. Like there's one at 6:30. I kind of like, I don't know why I did that, but I did one at 10, 2, and maybe 5. And what I do is I get up usually from my computer and I take a break and I just do a couple deep breaths, get out of my head, and I reset. And it sounds crazy and dumb that I have to set alarms to do this, but I have to set alarms to do it. And I'm
Hmm.
I'm not ashamed and I'm not embarrassed, because it's helpful. And I know that other people do it. And I think that if you're finding yourself not being able to do these things on your own for now, because we have to become that and like retrain our brain, the alarms on our phones and on our calendars, and like even through the well, I don't know. Some people have Google Home, right? So I could say that.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
with Alexa, I really think she didn't catch me, but I really think that those are really fantastic ways to build those habits and to have those, even that affirmation back. Even if it's just a positive saying, like, hey, good night. And then you say, hey, good night. Like, you did, even so 2 p.m. I got my reminder, meditate, right? So it's like, yeah, reading a book, brushing your teeth, taking your makeup off. I had to put one to say, take your makeup off, because I wasn't doing that for years. Now that I'd
Well,
taken
you
care of
got in
my
the
skin,
habit of not doing that.
I did, and I got in the habit of not doing it because I was going out, I was coming home too late, I was too tired, I was being lazy, I was drinking, and I'd come home and I'd go right to bed. And now it's like I'm not doing any of those things hardly at all, 98%. So it's like I have the time, the clarity, the focus, the energy, and all of that. But once you get into doing it, you feel good because, oh, by the way, my skin's looking better. I'm actually putting on my night creams that, by the way, aren't cheap. So I'm going to use them.
Yeah, you spent money on them. You might
It's
also
an
use them.
investment of time and money. But yeah, I mean, I think there's something really to be said about, if we need those reminders, the post-it notes, because you're right. Like, we could have a partner that's encouraging and is doing the same exact things as us. And then we could have a partner that's not. That's okay. But we should be encouraging each other to do those things. But it's hard. We almost have, no one's coming to save us. I always say.
Yeah. Well, Mel
We're,
Robbins says that all the time.
yeah. I mean, so I think that you're right. Like, it's interesting perspectives of when you're single and you have to do it alone, but you can, have all these other things that are encouragement and accountabilities. But it's actually really interesting when you're with somebody, because it's probably even a lot harder. What do
Yeah,
you think? I mean,
I see it on both sides because, for instance, me and Megan are so committed to 75 hard that it's actually, and I know we're only 3 weeks in, right? But we've gotten into such a groove of when we do things that even when some things pop up, it doesn't affect us like it normally would have, and and that's strictly because of the habits that we have created and the routine that we created. And because motivation will only take us so far, like
mhm,
somebody motivating you will help you get through a day, right?
mhm,
But motivation will only take you so far. So like you were saying, like, it always comes down to you and what you're going to do, because at the end of the day, even if you have a very supportive spouse that's doing it with you, like, you still have to have that internal because I know people that are doing the exact same thing that Megan and I are doing, and they're both struggling.
Right.
Because they haven't really bought into why they're doing what they're doing.
Individual, right.
Yeah, and they're being more individual. And so I think it all comes down to, like we've been saying, it comes down to why are we doing it, then how are we going to do it, and setting some type of routine. Like my routine's not perfect. Like I'll give you an example. Like today we are off our routine. Like we normally do a couple of different things that we haven't accomplished yet. And so it's weird, like when you get into that habit and that routine of doing things, like you almost feel like
something's missing.
Something's off, right?
Yeah.
The day is off track.
Right.
Even though it's really not. We have plenty of time to accomplish these
and then start over tomorrow.
Yeah, and these little nuanced things, but we're used to doing them in such an order that like it feels a little off. But that's the power of using an app or something like this, is I can go in there and look and be like, oh, I didn't complete this today. I need to do that really quickly. And then, another big thing too is like, for us doing this challenge, right, it is reading 10 pages or something like that. But one of the things that Atomic Habits talks about is just the act of doing it. So something that I used to do, or that I'll do every once in a while, but let's just say, if you're not doing this challenge, the 10 pages, right? If you just want to read, right, but you're not into reading, maybe you just read 1 page a day,
right?
You get in the act of being a reader, right? If you want to go to the gym, but you don't, you're afraid, you don't want to spend a bunch of time there, right? Just go for 5 minutes, like walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes and then leave, right? It's the act of doing it too. It's something that I focus on.
Yeah. And I think one of the main problems that I've had, and a lot of people have, are that we create too many goals and trying to set too many new habits at one time. Like just start with one, or start with a few, but like small, like you said, because that's exactly what I'm finding is when I tried to do too much, I wasn't getting, it was overwhelming. Right. So even there's days where I remember, I went to the gym. I just got up. I was like really sore. I hurt my leg, or I don't know. And I still went and I sat in the sauna and read for 20 or 30 minutes, or I just sat on the bike and did, that for 20 or 30 minutes. Like I didn't do like a full blown workout, but I got myself there and I at least was there. You
can celebrate that. You can celebrate that.
I've even heard like, I even heard something recently about somebody saying, just go to the gym and just go to the gym, walk in. Even if you're there for 5 minutes, you're there. It is. And I think it is that repetition and just that idea of saying, wow, I got myself up. I went, yes, obviously we want to spend more time there, but I think it's that idea of creating that positive thought in our brain of just, over and over and doing it. Because I think it would be hard for, I think looking back, having significant others, it's hard when there isn't that same passion or goal, or that want and that desire for that. I think it's really hard because and I'm not saying that it has to match equally, but I do think that you have to have that individually for yourself, and that bad that it's not going to affect you if the other person isn't doing it too, or hopefully, dear Lord, that they're not putting you down, or like discouraging you. But I do think that it's interesting. I would wonder, hear from people, in a situation that maybe they're struggling because they're not having the encouragement, or they're not, but again, you have to do it yourself. You have to want it yourself, but find those apps and the alarms. And that's where I also wanted to add, I don't want to forget, is that it's a system. So the routine, I think it's a system. I think it's a plan, and I think you have to have a system in place. And I think the reason why we don't follow through with our habits is because there's no system. And when the system could be a reward. So maybe it's, I'm really excited about making this breakfast, which I didn't even make today. I was actually super excited. It was like a tortilla with eggs and peppers and onions, and you bake it for 10 minutes. Okay. It becomes like a flatbread, almost this like really cool breakfast flatbread. And I was like, oh, I'm going to make this and I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do this. And that was my reward. I know it sounds bad because it's food, but I mean, it's healthy, but there has to be, I think for me, a system in place that I get that excitement of checking off the box. So that app, I think, would be really big for me, because that, I think it's that dopamine, right? Or whatever we call it in our brain, that,
Yep.
we've done this, we got it through, and then, hey, let's move on to the next task. And when we do that, it's all this continuous positive self-reinforcement of that high five, like that cheerleader. They say what all the teams that are winning more and that are more together, they high five each other more. So
they like playing with, they like being around each other.
And they it's this like, this high five, like this encouragement, and I do think that there's something about doing it for ourselves that we don't do enough. And when we really start, it sounds cheesy, but I really do think that we have to have that for ourselves. Another thing that I was going to say was, as far as habits, but like bad habits kind of, but I was talking to somebody recently about negative thoughts. And like when a negative thought comes into our head, I wouldn't say all, but I used to do this, was like you stew on it, right? You think about it. You think, whether it's fear of this or unworthiness, or even, a jealousy of, they have this, I don't have this. Well, I'm learning to get that out immediately, get that thought. So it's not just our schedules. It's not just the working out or eating and doing work. I think it's also our mind and the thoughts that we have. We have to create better habits of getting those out right away. And I think the sooner that we get those bad thoughts out and we switch it to positive, the more over time, maybe we'll have less negative thoughts. I don't know.
No, I mean, it's all about creating, again, not to harp on this one book, but it is an amazing book on habits. But we all have these neuro pathways in our brain that you keep doing something long enough, it's just going to become routine.
Right.
It just becomes a part of your subconscious thinking, and that's where your habits live. And you create bad habits that way, and you create good habits that way. And so a lot of us had to reprogram a lot of this is what we're doing, guys. Like if we're reprogramming our brains to do things that we want so that we can accomplish things that we really truly want. You said something very interesting at the beginning of when you started talking, having too many goals. I think that's a huge problem that people have. And it's like one of the things that, like, for my business in the financial planning world, I changed my complete mindset about it. You'd have too many financial goals and you'd be trying to focus on everything at one time. But let's focus on two or three things that we can accomplish that are going to help us overall become financially more healthy. Like, what is that? Like getting out of debt, saving more money, getting better spending habits, stuff like that. And then we can focus on long-term goals. So it's like focusing on like 3 or 4 or 5 goals that are really important to you. Like for me, for instance, what I do is I have five major goals in my life. So I have a faith goal, I have a family goal, I have a fitness goal, a financial goal, and I have a self goal.
Are those right now goals? Sorry to interrupt, but are those for right now? Or are these like long-term?
So I am not the type of person that plans like 10 years out. Like I just can't wrap my brain around like 10 years from now, because if I would have made goals for myself 10 years ago from right now, like 25 to 35, I would have never imagined where I'm at right now.
Right.
know? And so like for me, like I really look to that 3-year window. Like in 3 years, that's a short amount of time that you can really focus in on and be like, hey, in 3 years, I want to be here. Like you can really picture that. So those goals, the goals that I have for this year, are in line with the goals that I want to accomplish in 3 years.
Right. Okay.
So, but all 5 of those areas are so important. I think people, because we try to talk about balance on this podcast, having some type of balance in your life. But like, you could be really good on the financial aspect of your life. You could make a ton of money, have, no debt, and, have a successful business, but your family life might suck.
Right.
Your fitness level might suck, right? Your faith life might suck.
Your feelings about yourself, and yeah.
Yeah. So, and we see it all the time. We see major people that have all the money in the world, that have made millions of people happy. Like I brought up Robin Williams the other day with somebody. I was like, the dude that made us all laugh hysterically, ended his life because he inside of himself was in pain. And so
I was just talking to, I actually had my counselor appointment yesterday, and we were just talking about that and just how people could have, all the money in the world. We look at these people on social media, and we want, we try so hard to get there, or to be have things and whatever, because we're comparing ourselves. But deep down, we don't know what their life is like. And there are people that I know that have anything in the world that they want, can go anywhere and others, and they're a mess, whether it's themselves or, relationship, or just more emotional or mental health. It's the surface stuff that we don't see from other people. And I also think, though, that there's so many people, and it's, even I was doing this idea of like fake it till you make it, or, just getting, I don't want to say like floating through, but I wasn't having those set goals, like you said, in those individual categories, which I think is great. I'm actually going to do that, because I think overall I've done like a bigger picture, and I have my vision board, and I know, but deep down, if you break it down into those more categories, I think that you can focus a little bit more on that. And it almost creates those systems of those habits, And I just think without those systems, like we're just floating through, like it's just, and year after year. And that's why people say I have all this money, but, or, I make money, but it's gone, or I spend it, or I can't seem to save it, or, I want this business. It's not getting anywhere. Me with my website, I was talking about it for 5 years. I didn't have the systems in place.
Yeah. And you didn't have the systems, and you didn't have a mechanism. You weren't really tracking it, and anything that's left untracked, like how well do you know you're doing? Like how, like, or when you track things, or setting a standard, like it's saying like, hey, by this date on January 30th, like I'm gonna have my website done. Like, setting that standard and setting that deadline as a goal, and being like, hey, you're going to do whatever it takes to get it done. Right. If, Megan always will say, and I can't remember exactly how the quote goes, but like any task that you have will get accomplished in the allotted amount of time that you give it. So if just imagine this, for instance, right? Like when somebody's coming over, like how quickly do you clean your house?
Usually
like you're running through the house, you're cleaning as fast as you can, and it usually looks pretty good, right? It usually looks pretty clean. I mean, there might be a bunch of stuff in the closet, but for the most part, the house is pretty clean. But if you gave yourself the entire day to clean your house, it would take the entire day for you to clean your house, and you'd be like, why did it take me so long? Well, it's the amount of time that you allotted to that task. So that's one of the things I've been working on this year, with especially like time blocking and stuff like that, is that like I would allow a task back in the day to take, like, it felt like the entire day to do it, right? But like instead I would be like, all right, I have an hour block to complete emails, right? But once that hour block is over, I now must move on to something else, like regardless of if I'm not finished or not, moving on to the next block. So
and then you come back. I mean, I'm doing the alarms now for my jobs, and I should have done this sooner. I mean, usually I know how long something's going to take me, and I might just say, okay, I'm going to spend 20 minutes on this or whatever. Well, 20 minutes go by and now it's 45. So I actually set alarms and say, I'm only spending this much time on it. And if I get to that, it's actual job. I mean, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but I find myself not dilly-dallying, not, just I'm really focused on it, and I'm not also getting distracted by other things, which was a major problem in my life,
Oh
is
yeah, this
distraction. So
thing.
let's talk about, well, yeah, I mean, talk about, it's just one of many people, relationships, and just, yeah, I mean, there's just so many other mental things that we've distracted ourselves with, that I feel I had to do that first. So talk about timing and like forming habits and even just doing little by little by little. I feel that I had to start by taking things away, because I couldn't even create new habits because I knew I needed them. I knew I needed routine. I knew I needed stuff, but I felt that first I had to remove a lot of stuff that was more of the bad habit,
Mm-hmm.
and then that was like the first phase, which was, unfortunately, I wasn't, I mean, I was focusing, but I was going through a lot of other really introspection of personal and childhood and things that it took a year, I mean, or, a little less, maybe 8 months, but I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a goal in it. I was working on it every single day, and then that I said, well, if I could do that, I can do anything
Mm-hmm.
now. Now it's like, well, if we can form these good habits of, creating a routine, and, I listen, I even on with the, Alexa, say, hey, play this, or, when I say good morning, I actually have one of my podcasts that's like a 5-minute, 10-minute podcast. I say it comes on while I'm getting ready in the bathroom. I listen
Mm-hmm.
to it I don't even have to push a button. I know it sounds lazy and,
No, but you have to make
the
it
world.
easy. That's one of the things that.
Right. It was too hard. I don't use the word, it was too hard, or we weren't doing it, or we were being lazy. But honestly, if the system's in place and we could make it easy and it just happens, then that's where I've been the most successful. So everything works for different people. You like to actually read the book. People want to actually read the pages and flip the pages. And me, I just want to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to listen to, the audiobook, because I don't, but there
Yeah,
are certain books that I do like to read.
of
I
course.
think it's just certain ones. Um, yeah, it's specific ones, but I do think that you're right. We're almost making it too hard for ourselves. It's like setting us up for failure because we weren't doing anything,
Yeah,
and we're making it so much more difficult.
yeah. We do that as humans. It's just funny. Like you think about like, one of the things in that book, again, Atomic Habits. If you guys haven't read it, I definitely recommend go reading it. I've read it twice. I'll probably read it a couple more times,
Yeah,
right? But he talks about it all the time in the book. Make things easier on yourself.
right.
Like if like if you struggle with eating, don't give yourself such a restrictive diet that makes it hard for you, right? Like if you are not good at cooking and meal prepping, okay, you're going to spend a couple extra dollars to get meals prepped for you, but is that going to be easier for you to accomplish your goal, right? Or are you going to
Hmm.
hate spending an hour to 2 hours cooking on a Sunday? Or would
Hmm.
you much rather just have all your meals prepared for you?
Hmm.
So it comes down to like cost, right? And opportunity cost and the value and what you're getting for that value. So like for somebody
Hmm.
like that, like yeah, it's like make it easier. Like just have her like you said, set the routine. All of a sudden, like you've accomplished that podcast goal, right? Like I've listened to something positive today,
Right.
and now it's over. It's accomplished. You can move on to the next task or the next thing that
Right.
you have set in your life.
Right.
So
And set reminders, set alarms, set like as soon as I started doing that, I'm like, but it's also, I can't make excuses anymore. So, I think we've all made a lot of excuses for things for a really long time. And when I decided, a year or two ago, I was like, I'm not making excuses for this anymore. I'm gonna find the way to do this. I know I can do this. I know it can happen. I know it's going to happen. I just need to find the way. And I
yeah,
think that certain things work and certain things don't. And or certain things work better. But I'm really finding that those things that work, and it's really hard to get, and I don't use to get off of it or to have something take away from that. That's when when I've been traveling, I'm, a couple days, I'm like, oh, I'm off my routine. And I want to get home to get back to this space because I've created this like really great safe space and that's working for me. And as much as I love, traveling and doing that, it's hard. It's almost like creating a new habit to do it while you're traveling, but I think it's possible. Absolutely. Especially, depending on where you go. But I think that, and it's hard to explain to people sometimes, it's hard. No, I don't want to go out. No, I'm staying in this weekend. No. Well, it's like, because I want to spend time by myself. I want to do my reading. I want to listen to podcasts. I want to do a couple webinars that I've been doing nights and weekends. My thing is I'm learning about Airbnb, but I'm set a goal that I'm not going to start something new until I finish, until what I'm doing now. Right. So I'm actually educating myself on my free time. So it sounds crazy, but I'm working on my business. I'm, spending my extra time on my business, but I'm also now learning something else on my free time because that's that's kind of, something that
step,
but I really feel right now, I am just soaking up all this knowledge about anything that I can, but I've also like, that's my reward. I want to really do that, and I've done my business for 15 years and, there's certain things that I'm changing and there's ways that I'm packaging up my bigger packages for nonprofits, my golf outings, like really focusing on the higher dollar packages that I never did before. And obviously selling the templates, and that's, they're two different things, but I know that I want to do something else and my reward is going to be that, but I'm starting on my free time to give my brain a little bit of that chunk of that excitement. Like, ooh, I'm really excited. I'm reading these books and I'm listening to these other people and I'm starting to follow those people. And it's just encouraging to more motivation.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. And it is in our conscious mind right now about these habits and about these goals and stuff like that. So, we have to do all these things. We have to set all these timers and reminders and stuff like that. But eventually, halfway through the year, we'll look back on this podcast, right? And we'll say like, we don't even have that timer anymore.
Right.
It's just an innate timer that goes off
You're
in our
right.
head.
It
That's
becomes
just
who
like,
we are. Yeah.
It becomes who we are and we just do it. And
it does. And that's the thing. I don't need the timers and the reminders for certain things, I mean, I really have developed some of those as part of just every day, as I go, but some of them are harder than others. So got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I could definitely talk a long time about habits, and I think it's I think it's the way really to any goal that you ever want to accomplish in this life. Because your motivation will only take you so far. That motivation behind that goal will only take you so far. It's the habits that you create that will lead you to where you want to go. And so, yeah, I mean, I love it. I love talking about this stuff. It's funny. There's some people I want to bring on this podcast that I've met in the last couple of weeks that I think could really speak to this, and so I'm excited to bring them on.
Good, awesome. Let's do it.
Yeah, and bring them on and just really talk and dive more into, because everybody has a different way. Everybody has a different way they respond to different things, and so what you heard today might not necessarily resound with you, right? But like, you want to accomplish these things. We can definitely bring on those people and give you those resources to help you guys, because you should want to be a better version than you were last year of yourself. Like that, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be an entrepreneur or a business owner. You could love your 9-to-5 job and have fun doing that. But there's so many things in our lives that we can get a little bit better at, right? And it could improve our life just a little bit more. So hopefully that resounds to somebody today. So, but anyways, we typically like to end the show with two things, right? And the first thing is the millennial meme of the week.
Okay, I promise I am going to cut that from Premiere Pro today before I upload all of these today. I promise everybody I am going to cut that, and that is going to be from today. I will be able to push the button. Okay.
Yes.
Are we
Yep.
allowed to add video? I
Yes.
mean, audio.
Actually, yeah. You can add to the overlay. You can add a
I
sound to it.
promise
So
everybody I'm doing it today. And you know what? I'm gonna put it on Instagram, and I'm gonna create an audio on Instagram, and then we're gonna just use that every week when I post when we post the meme. That audio is gonna go right on it on the story. Okay. I promise everybody it's
I
happening
love it.
today.
I love it. I love it. So
I will not.
it is Mel's turn for the meme, and I already can tell, guys, because I can see in the back office. I can't see what the memes are, but I see two. So if you have watched the show at any point in your life, this is a very common situation we're about to find ourselves in. So Mel, go ahead.
I like variety, change of scenery. Okay, first one. All right, I did this because it says, "What you doing?" And it's a little girl, and it's a guy, and he's breaking a habit, and he has this hammer, and he's like, "Ah!" And he's gonna hit the habit. And in the next scene, it's clink, and it's the bad habit, and he looks up, and nothing happens. And the bad habit is this big ass rock, and he thinks he's going to break the bad habit with one little plank. And it's just proof that it is not that easy to break bad habits, but with little planks, you can get there. But my second one is funny because I can resonate with this very, very much lately because of my travels. I got out of my habit, my good habit, and I'm getting back to it this week. But it's that typical meme of the girl looking at the guy. They're holding hands. He's looking back at the girl in the red. We all know this picture, which has become like this iconic meme. And it says, me, and I should say my 5:30 a.m. alarm for work. Looking at me is like, ooh, look at that. And the girl in the red dress is really the snooze button and being late. So he is.
Oh man.
That is something of my life because my 5:30 alarm, and Michael that does the Unbroken podcast, and I met him at 10X GrowthCon. I'll give him a little shout out. Him and I were messaging about the 5:30 alarm, and I said that I was finding myself snoozing, and he said that somebody said to him, which changes life, and he never does it. It says, when you snooze your alarm, you snooze on your dreams.
I thought you were going to say, if you snooze, you lose.
Well, okay. I'll make it easy. Snooze or lose. But you snooze on your alarm, you snooze on your dreams. And it's kind of a pun because you're dreaming, but it is true. So stop snoozing the alarms.
Yep, 100%.
I'm telling myself.
One of the things I do, and I've told you this before, my phone is on the other side of the room. So in order to turn the phone off, I have to get out of bed. Now I'm out of bed. So now I'm awake. I'm moving around. So,
and I actually just used my Echo, my show on it. And I have it set where it comes on, but I actually had it set for birds chirping, because that was one of the things that I heard that is a sound that actually like releases like all this great just mental energy, but it sounds so peaceful that it's hard to wake up. So now I learned that I end up having another one that just has my music, or like that I usually was listening to prior to that was working. What works, stick with what works, guys.
Yep 100%. So one last thing before we end the show, guys, we have what's called Mel's Moment.
I'm going to take that one, but I'm also going to take one from another one because,
it
was good, but I think we have a great one. But I promise you, I will have that and the meme cut.
Awesome.
Okay? I'm making hard promises today.
I know, hard promises. I love it. So this is a point of the show where Mel usually gives us some piece of advice, maybe something to think on, some thought-provoking, thought to take us into the weekend. We're already in the weekend, so it's really to take us into the last part of the weekend, into the new week. So Mel, what you got for us?
I just think my routine has become so good for me, and I'm sticking to it. I think what we should do is for this weekend, everybody should consider what their goals are for the year. You know, hopefully you did your vision board. If not, sit down and write down some things that you want for the year or create a vision board, and try to figure out a system, even if it's day by day, with alarms, with routine, with putting things on your calendar, with post-it notes, anything or all of the above, because just taking action will trigger more action. And I think that we enough's enough with excuses. You know, yes, it's a new year, but also at this point, so many people are around us are showing growth that if you're not growing, you're not in the, I don't want to say the cool club, but we need.
You're not in the cool club. I'll say it.
We're not in the cool club. Okay. We need you to be in the cool club, and we need the support from everybody. We need to encourage everybody, and we all need to be working on ourselves, and that'll help everybody that is working around us. You know, you
100%.
growing will help your spouse. If you want your spouse to, to start with some personal growth, start with some personal growth yourself.
Lead by example. Love it.
If your coworkers, your children. So little bit feats of success will add up, and just start today.
Love it.
Even though it's the 21st, we are still early.
Still plenty of time left in the month to start. Still plenty of time left in the year.
Yeah, it's okay. Even if you get off, for one day, or even if you, don't get something done, it's okay. Just, get it done tomorrow. Get back on tomorrow.
I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Guys, we really appreciate everybody that jumped on. I saw a bunch of you jumping on, liking. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
We hope that you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I'm going to be watching the Eagles later today. At 8:00. So if you're going to try to call me at that time, probably won't get an answer.
Do not disturb.
Do not disturb. Right. I'm turning on my iPhone. I'm turning my focus time on for that. Yes. So nobody can bother me. So, but anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's show. If you did, let us know in the comment section. Next week, Mel does not know this yet, and she doesn't know who's coming on, but I have a special guest for us. So
I'm excited.
Yes. So we'll have a good time with that. But anyways, guys, we hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend. We will talk to you soon. We're live every Friday. It is Saturday. Yep. It's our goal to go live every week, so we did not miss our goal. So
it's within 24 hours, right?
Yes. Yep.
We reply within 24 hours.
Yeah. Typically replies within 24 hours. So. So anyways, guys, have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you Friday.